Shalom, shalom, shalom. This is your brother Kahan from the GMS Prophetic Vibration Camp here in Trinidad with another edification through the power and spirit of Yahweh Ba'asham Yahweh Shai. So first and foremost, Kal Halayam, La Allah Hayanawa Yahweh Bahasham Yahweh Shai, Bahasham Rakaha Kodash, Barakata Yahweh, Barakata Yahweh Shai, Barakata Yahweh, Barakata Yahweh Shai, Barakata Yahweh, Barakata Yahweh Shai. Double honors unto the apostles, the bishops, the elders of Great Millstone Natural Well. Salutation unto the brothers who preaching and teaching us truth through all the four corners of the earth, risking their lives and their freedom to do so now more than ever. Shalom unto the speckled bird Israelites, and shalom unto the very few but faithful Akwad, the sisters, all right, listening and learning. The title of this edification is Can You See It Now? All right, can you see it now? All right. And what I'm speaking about the prophecies. I'm speaking about the end. All right. I'm speaking about everything that is taking place within this point in time. All right, this time period here that we are experiencing, all the words that were written, as the scripture say, pursuant to Romans. Let's get into the scripture, all right? Because the Lord has hammered in the spirit, just to go with the spirit within this, I think it's 15 or 14. I think 14 and 3. No, it's so then it had to be 15 and 4. All right, pursue. All right, this is Romans 15 and 4. It reads, "For whatsoever things were written aforetime were written for our learning." So all that was written, all right, pursuant to the prophecies, it was written for our learning, and as the scriptures say, that what? That we through patience and comfort of the scriptures might have hope. All right. What is that hope? That hope of salvation. Because all that was written was that, it was not only written for our learning, but written for our preparation. All right, for the times that we are in here now and the times that we are about to go through. All right, the times that we are about to experience the hellish conditions and what have you, so forth, Jacob's trouble. All right. What I'm saying, can you see it now? It's not just only pursuant to what is taking place in the Middle East, the so-called Middle East, and what have you, so forth. We have a major prophecy that is about to be fulfilled. Roads, the pathway is already made, and the steps is already been taken, pursuant towards the MOTB, the mark of the beast. All right. The crashing of the economy, in order to facilitate the MOTB, there is what it is. All right? Can you see it now? All right? Is your head still down in the sand and thinking that everything will just bypass you? Are you still on the fence, contemplating if you would make that great step, or if you will continue to stay in the world? All right, but the scriptures speak about that, being on the fence, right? Pursuant to Sirach. Let's take a look at that. Sirach 5 and 7. I think it's 5 and 7. Yeah, Sirach 5 and 7, where it reads, "Make no tarrying to turn to the Lord, and put not off from day to day." All right, so stop being on the fence, and you know what? I think I just waiting and watching to see and whatnot, so forth. Because the time you take to wait and watch to see, and to see what will take place, to know what decision you would want to make and what have you, so forth. Time is running out on you. All right, and as the scriptures say, all right, make no tarrying to turn to the Lord, and put not off from day to day, for suddenly shall the wrath of the Most High Yahweh Ba'asham Yahshai come forth, and in the And in thy security thou shalt be destroyed and perish in the day of vengeance. All right? So this is what it is here. All right? Do you still want to be on the fence and put off serving the Lord from day to day? I will think about it. Maybe give me 2 weeks to make a decision. I'll wait and see what taking place and whatnot, so forth and this and that. The time you're taking to do that, all right, it's just days getting closer and closer and closer towards your destruction. There is what it is. All right. There is why the scripture say, that is Isaiah 56, I believe. Because things is getting way more and more and more worse. Is it Isaiah 56 or 55? Let me see. No, it's not 56. Let me see, 55. Yeah, Isaiah 55. There's another one too, no? There's another one too, but I will read this here. Isaiah 55 and 6, where it reads, seek ye the Lord while he may be found. All right? Call upon him while he is near. Let the wicked forsake his way, and the righteous man his thoughts, and let him return unto the Lord, and he will have mercy upon him, and unto our power, for he will abundantly pardon. All right? So the point where I'm making at, is that we in a time of distress. All right? We in a time of great distress. We in a time of great woe. All right? Mourning, lamentation. All right? We in a time of Jacob's trouble. All right? And you have to have the eyes to see it. And the thing about it is the Lord is making it plain. All right? Everything that we see now taking place in the world, these things were already written. All right? These things were already prophesied to happen. And it is happening. The Lord said he will not make his word fall void. All right? That's roughly paraphrasing. All right? So the time where you taking, here it is you seeing, but still wasting your time and wasting the Lord's time to contemplate. You understand? It's time. That is time you making your life in a whole jeopardy. To put it in layman's term. All right. That is why you have to seek Yahweh Shem Yahshai. Especially if you're seeing it. If you're seeing what the prophets, that the Lord have here now. All right, the prophets that you have risen up here now in this time, all right, showing and bringing it out for you, on the highways and the byways and on the unicorn and what have you, so forth, all right, and you're seeing it. It shouldn't be a no-brainer for you to make that decision. All right, it shouldn't be a no-brainer to you. All right, then there are those who seeing it. And still, they rather be in the folly. All right? They rather be in the folly. All right? There are those who seeing it and still don't wanna believe in the scriptures. All right? When I say seeing it, there are those who seeing what is actually taking place, and the concern. All right? The concern in the sense of, they're watching everything, they're watching how everything unfolding, and they know that it's going to put a damper on the folly. All right, they know it's going to put a damper on the folly, but they still would rather mingle in the wickedness. There's where it is. It's only the ones who has the eyes to see and the spirit to hear will follow after Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahshai. There is what it is. You understand? This is what it is here. Only the ones who are the spirit to see. Alright? The eyes to see and the spirit to hear, the Ruach HaKodesh to hear and understand, will know the time and that we're living in. Alright? That is why the scripture in Thessalonians speak about in Thessalonians, I think like 1 Thessalonians 5, and I believe it's verse 8. 1 Thessalonians 5, and let me see, 1 Thessalonians 5 and 5, and I'll read from 5 to 8 and then go up. Alright, but 1 Thessalonians 5 and 5, where it reads, "Ye are all the children of the light and the children of the day. Alright, we are not of the night, nor of darkness. Alright, therefore let us not sleep as others be. Let us watch and be sober." Okay, so as I say, the hopeful elect, all right, that is in this here, we are the ones that is seeing. The Lord open our eyes to see. All right, He gave us that eye salve, and He gave us that spirit, that Ruach HaKodesh, to hear and understand. All right, so that's why we are in the light, we are in the know, because we seeing. All right, we seeing. Okay, whilst the others who is in the darkness, they cannot see. So basically it's like you're walking into a dark room, and you don't know what in that dark room. You don't know if it have broken glass on the ground, or it have some obstacle, that can make it trip and fall and whatnot, so forth. And you're just your hands out, and you're feeling, you're searching to feel around, to make your way to the other end of the room or whatever have you, so forth. That is the ones, that is not in this ministry, not in this work, not in this truth. All right. So basically, they're not seeing the dangers that is ahead. All right. They're not seeing the prophecies that is being fulfilled. But the ones, who in the light, they walk in that room and the light on, and they seeing the broken glass on the ground, so they know, hey, you know what? Let me step away from that. All right. They seeing the obstacle that is there that could make them trip and fall. You know what? Let me go around that. That is why the scripture say, I will come back to this. That is why the scripture say in Proverbs 22 and 3, I believe. Proverbs 22 and 3, where it reads, "A prudent man foreseeth the evil and hideth himself, but the simple pass on and are punished." All right? But the only way the prudent man could foresee the evil is because he is in the light. That is the only way the prudent man can be able to foresee the evil. All right? Because he's in the light. He's seeing all that is taking place. He's seeing all what is coming. He's seeing the disturbances, the destruction, the distractions. All what is taking place. He is seeing it. That all that is taking place that could lead him astray, that could take him away. All right, he is seeing it. All right, but as the scripture says, the simple passes on and are punished. Because why? They're in the dark. All right, if they was in the light, they would have seen everything. All right, they would have seen everything if they was in the light. But they're in the dark. That's why when they go back to the same Thessalonians 5, and I will read verse 7 now. Actually verse 6. All right, where it reads, "Therefore let us not sleep as do others, but let us watch and be sober. For they that sleep in the night, all right, and they that be drunken are drunken in the night." That is why the scripture say, like 1 Peter, I think it's 1 Peter 5 and 8. I'll come back because as I going through toward Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahshua, is the Lord that actually sending precepts to me. I have nothing really pre-written, but as I speak, the the Lord just sending the scriptures to me through the power and spirit of Yahweh Hashem Yahushai. All right? So it says, it's 1 Peter 5:8, be sober, be vigilant. All right? Be sober, be vigilant. All right? Which means keep your head on a swivel. All right? Both spiritual and, hey, let's go into that word vigilant as we hear. Bear with me. Let's go to that word vigilant. Bear with me. All right, vigilant meaning. All right, vigilant means being keenly alert. All right? Vigilant means being keenly alert, watchful, and attentive to detect danger, trouble, or mistakes. All right? So, being in this walk, in this ministry, all right, what the scripture tells us to do, to be vigilant, be sober and be vigilant, all right, because your adversary, the devil, all right, as a roaring lion walking about, seeking whom he may devour. And this is the reason why I'm asking the question. This is the reason the title of this edification is posed with a question. Can you see it now? All right? Can you see it now? Because we in a time, you know, where from years back we've been speaking of World War III. All right? We've been prophesying of war between America, Babylon the Great, and Iran, which is going to evolve into Russia, you know, joining forces with Iran to go to war against America. Israel being the ones to draw out America, all right, to go to war against Iran and what have you, so forth. All right, for years we have been speaking it, all right, and we are seeing it, you know, being manifested. All right, for years we've been speaking of the MOTB, all right, the uproars of the people, all right, the crashing of the economy and all these things, the world economy and all these things, all right, and it is being manifested. All right, for years we've been speaking of oil prices reaching to what, $100 a barrel, $200, $300, $400 a barrel. All right, where you, the consumer, is going to feel it on every level. All right, pursuant to hyperinflation, everything is going to be hyperinflated because of oil, because of these exuberant oil prices and what have you, so forth. And we are seeing it. We are seeing it being manifested right now. We're not really in the scheme of hyperinflation as yet, but we are in the beginning stages of it. All right, we are in the beginning stages of it. All right, and then there's still a lot of jakes that just want to pussyfoot around. All right, still think that everything is going to continue as they were. All right, they're going to continue in the folly. All right, they're going to continue in the wickedness, and don't expect that the Lord is going to bring everything to a crashing end. There's what it is. That is why when you go back, I will have to go to verse 1, and then I will jump down. That is why when you go back to Thessalonians, 1 Thessalonians 5:1, where it reads, but of the times and the seasons, brethren, ye have no need that I write unto you, for yourselves know perfectly that the day of the Lord Yahweh Hashem Yahushai so cometh as a thief in the night. For when they shall say peace and safety, then sudden destruction cometh upon them that travail upon them as travail upon a woman with child, and they shall what? Shall not escape. All right, because as the scriptures say, you know, the Jake all settle on the lease. All right, you so-called Negroes, Hispanics, and Native American Indians who are the children of Israel, the biological children of Israel at that. All right, as all settle on your knees, and don't think that, there is not going to be any consequences pursuant to your actions. All right? There's not going to be any consequences pursuant to the decisions that you make in life. There is what it is. So when they go back down to this very said scripture, when they go back down to verse 7, where it reads, "For they that sleep, sleep in the night, and they that be drunken are drunken in the night," which represents being in this world and being in darkness, being in all the wickedness, not being in the know, not being in the true know, and living in the know. Because there is one thing to being in the know, as in you're knowing, like for instance, the Jakes that they know about, they will talk about the Illuminati, they will know about the Illuminati, they will know about Freemasonry and whatnot, so forth, and the wickedness of these things, and what have you, so forth, and certain other things, they would know about. All right. So you're being in the know, you just have a little knowledge of certain things. All right, because the word knowledge goes into to know something. You have knowledge about certain things, so you know about it. But there is one thing, there's a difference between being in the know and actually living in the know. As in, you know about it, and you're living within a sense of how do I explain this, boy? Sometimes the words just escape me. Which goes back again to the scripture that I had read earlier on, the Proverbs 22:3. The prudent man foresee the evil. All right, so good. So and he hide it himself. All right, and escape the judgment, escape the persecution and what have you, so forth. So that is living in the know. That is you living in the know, because you know the evil, you know who rule this world, you know who controls this world, whatnot, so forth. You know what this world entails. You know that the world, the earth is given into the hands of the wicked. You understand? And you know what the wicked have in store. All right, because you're living in it. All right, because the Lord had given the eyes to see, and for you to and He direct your path. So you now walking within the right path. You walking with Yahweh Baal Shem Yahweh Shai. All right, so when the evils come, you're protected. All right, there's where it is. So it says, "But let us who are of the day," which is those who is living in the know, all right, "be sober," all right, "putting on the breastplate of faith and love, and for an helmet the hope of salvation." There's living in the know. All right, because you're privy. All right, as the scripture say, that scripture just came to my head there, which is I think it's 1 Corinthians 2:11, or either 2 Corinthians 2:11. No, it's 2 Corinthians 2:11. 2 Corinthians 2:11, where it reads, "Lest Satan should get an advantage of us," all right, "for we are not ignorant of his devices." Because we live in the know. All right, we live in the know. Okay, there's where it is here. There's a lot of individuals out there, a lot of Jake out here that they don't know the time that they're living in, and they cannot see the time that they're living in. All right, look at Jake in Babylon. Look at Jake here in Trinidad. All this thing going on, and Jake still had time to go carnival. Yeah? All these world events taking place throughout the four corners of the earth. All right, especially over there in the so-called Middle East. All right, and Jake could care less, because Jake watching it as that far off. That far off. That is so much and so much thousands of miles away from us. We shouldn't have to worry about that. But little do they know, all right, everything has a ripple effect. Everything in life has a ripple effect. All right? Every single thing in life has a ripple effect, and it's going to come all the way down here. In one more ways than one, in many more ways than one. All right? We're going to see grocery prices getting higher, fuel prices getting higher. You understand? The health system deteriorating even way more than it is here. You understand? All sorts of things, all sorts of chaos. All right? And the people, they just can't see it. But I pray, that you, the hopeful elect, and the young ones, the new awakened ones, I pray that you all could see it. All right, I pray that you all, could see it and know the time that you're living in and make some serious adjustments, within your life. When it comes to serving Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai, you understand? Because it's going to be a bumpy road, a bumpy time. Before the end had to come, before all this thing come to an end, it have to be as gritty and bloody and disastrous as it could be. All right? Which means it have to get way more worse than this. This is what it is. So I will leave with this last scripture here, which is Romans 13. While I go to the scripture, Romans 13 and 11. Romans 13 and 11, where it reads, and that knowing the time, that now it is what? It is high time to awake out of sleep. Wake out of sleep. Wake out of that spiritual sleep. All right? For now is our salvation nearer than we believe. That's why, again, can you see it? Can you see it? All right? Can you see your salvation? There's a question I know how to ask myself. Right? Can you see your salvation escaping, especially when the nuclear missiles start to drop? Because that is where the salvation going to come. That is the salvation there. All right? When those missiles, when those warheads start to drop on Babylon the Great and start to pelt through the four corners of the earth. All right? Good day. All right? Can you see it? All right? Can you see it? Can you see your salvation? Can you see yourself getting out of here? All right? You have to believe that. All right? And you have to do the things, that is necessary in order to keep that belief that, hey, I see in my salvation, I see in myself getting out of here. All right? I'm seeing myself getting out of here. All right? There's what it is. It says the night is far spent. Yeah? The day is at hand. All right? The day is at hand. Let us therefore cast off the works of darkness. All right? Let us cast off the works of darkness and let us put on the armor of light. And let us walk honestly as in the day, not in rioting and drunkenness, not in chambering and wantonness, not in strife and envying, but put you on the Lord Yahweh Shai HaMashiach, and make not provision for the flesh to fulfill the lust thereof. All right? So, again, can you see it? There's a question we all have to ask ourselves from day to day, especially now more than ever. All right, so this is your brother Kahan from the GMS Prophetic Vibration Camp here in Trinidad with another edification through the power and spirit of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai. All right, so call Halayam La Allah Hayanawa Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai Ba'ashem Rakaha Kodash Barakata Yahweh Barakata Yahushai Barakata Yahweh Barakata Yahushai Barakata Yahweh Barakata Yahushai. Double honors unto the apostles, the bishops, the elders, a great millstone that rule well. Salutation unto the brothers who preaching and teaching us truth through the four corners of the earth, risking their lives and their freedom to do so no more than ever. Shalom unto the speckled bird Israelites, and shalom unto the very few but faithful Akwat. The brother Kahan signing out, saying shalom, shalom, shalom. Kwam Yasharala. Kwam Yasharala.